edition of Windows and Current Affairs, and before Egyptians define, or Egypt defined its new political roadmap, Egyptians were aware of the different challenges awaiting the new developed democratic civil state Egyptians were opting for, and for whoever who is going to step into office, you know that having the state would come with a hefty package, a legacy of difficult challenges that is beyond, far beyond terrorism, a legacy, a very hard legacy of corruption, of bureaucracy, of economic and political disarray, weakening tourism, but on top of all, a fierce fight towards existence, or for existence Egyptians have to fight. This is going to be our topic for today in Windows and Current Affairs, and we're very delighted to have with us Major General Pilot Hisham Al-Halabi, consultant Nasser High Military Academy. Good evening, General. And Dr. Ahmed Muhanna, the political analyst. Good evening, Dr.
Thanks for having me.
I would start off by talking about the challenges that are facing Sisi's rule and Egyptian state. Does it look to be stretching beyond the Brotherhood supporters who are protesting from time to time, their violent protests and the bombings and the self-interest motivated Western media outlets that spread rumors and accuse and criticize the Egyptian state? But this is not all. It seems that this is not all. There seems to be road accidents, the negligence in public hospitals, the concerns about the failing education and health files, the failing curriculums in the public schools, the educational system in general, the failing laws for women in childhood. These are all problems that seem to be flashing a red card in the face of New Egypt. So it seems that President Sisi is up or heading for a lot of other challenges other than the terrorism and the bombings and the violent clashes of the Brotherhood supporters and everything.
I think the speech of the President was very clear, and he addressed many tracks for the problem or challenges which they are facing Egypt. Politically and also military, security, and also the intelligence issues, like as you said, corruptions and many issues. So if you would like to discuss separately or make highlights for each track or each point he addressed in his speech, I think I will start by the main issues, the terrorism in Sinai, also in some places in Egypt. I'm sure that this point not only interior problem, but we cannot split this problem from the global issues, the fourth generation of war. Fourth generation of war means that they affect the stabilization of the country. The main object to destabilize the country and then make the country the state failed state. After this, we divide the country to small states. We can see in the region many countries like this. So we cannot split this issue from what is happening now in Egypt. This is one of the many challenges. I don't think the President spoke about existence. Okay, so
he focused two times on the war, the first war towards existence or for existence, that it has to be fought by Egyptians and also by the administration in Egypt.
Sure.
He is very much aware of that fact. So when people, Dr. Ahmed, are picking up on mistakes like the bureaucracy, like the corruption, well, Al-Sisi's rule inherited the last 15 years of Mubarak's rule of corruption and bureaucracy and political bribes and everything, you name it. And also that was extended during the Brotherhood rule and even deteriorated to worse, to violence and terrorism and all that stuff. So where do we stand now, and is Sisi aware of that, and how do you assess the situation?
I think I'd like to add to what you kindly mentioned, that the people are holding Sisi responsible for trying to rectify the situation as if he has the magic wand. When we go back to the basics of ABC, political and administrative governance, it goes back to building institutions, that every institution has its own vision, mission, and own strategies and budgets to run the sector that it's responsible for. During the first era, or the previous era of political system, Egypt, we witnessed the personalization of authority, where the entire country and all its institutions were revolving around the system of Mubarak and the political elite. So there was no development of the Egyptian institutions to stand basically help the president. President Sisi inherited that, which basically means the collapse of the entire administrative system. So what the President Sisi needs to do is build institutions to help him. Now, it's a cultural issue. Egyptians always held a person responsible to rectify the situation or to lead. But I think it's very difficult for one person or even for a government to do that if the administrative system is not basically forming a number of institutions that each institution can form and run a specific sector. So that's really the difficulty that President Sisi is facing, which basically a weak, deteriorating administrative system. So when it comes to the number of challenges facing him, on the economic side, for example, we've got three major factors: the poor economic growth, high unemployment rate. Number two, the balance of payment and balance of trade deficit. The third problem is the social justice deterioration in the country, the rise of the unemployment to 13.6, the rise of poor sector to 63% with different categories. On the national security side, there is a number of threats that is facing internally and externally. On the internal side, we've got a awareness problem where a large number of people do not understand the basic principles of moderate Islam, for example, so they get attracted and go astray. On the external side, we've got a number of conspiracies that are running against Egypt to bring it down as a central country in the Middle East. I think we've got a problem on the social, cultural aspect as well, in terms of the poverty rate, high unemployment rate. We've got a lot of traditions and habits that need to change. A backlog of in the justice system in terms of cases. It's delaying the processing of the justice system, which basically increases the chaos in the face of government, because a lot of cases have not been resolved as yet before June 30th and after. So I think the main rule here is presidency to focus on the administrative system, form institutions to help him build Egypt or take Egypt to the next step in the 21st century.
True. General Halabi, following the militant and vicious attacks on that took place in northern Sinai and Karim al-Qawadis that claimed the lives of 31 army personnel, the military decided to evacuate the residents within 500 meters from the border with Rafah, the Egyptian Rafah border, along the border, because they wanted to destroy the tunnels that transport the terrorists and the arms that are transported into Egypt and carried out those militant attacks. So the act in itself is in the favor of the residents themselves in order to restore peace and stability and to avoid the terrorist acts that are affected inside northern Sinai. So he announced in his speech that they are during the military, the Badr military exercises 2014, the state is allocating 1 billion Egyptian pounds around compensation for residents who were displaced. If you can elaborate on that.
The tourist groups, they live among the people, among the people there. In addition, the tunnels, it's a big problem because some of them are doing their attacks and go out from the Egyptian land to another side.
If you can allow me, the tunnels, to our knowledge, is located inside the houses and inside the mosques, the hospitals and schools.
You cannot imagine that we have more than 90 tunnels inside the residential area, in addition to the other tunnels along the borders. So this issue is very important to evacuate the residential area along the borders, to have free hand for the armed forces to deal with the terrorism group and destroy the rest of the tunnel completely along the borders, which is very important issue for the national security, in addition to securing the people themselves and their safety for the civilians around the borders. And this a good point for the evacuation, or I would like to say transferring the people, because
their own safety.
Yes, for their own safety and the national security.
Debate about the eviction that revolved around the act of eviction itself. Had those residents hadn't they been evicted, what would happen then? Would they be safe?
No, their safety will be affected badly, because the armed forces need to have a free hand to move, to go against those people which using those tunnels. Yes, and a lot of casualties will. Also, the curfew is very good point, and I'm sure that the people there now have the better understanding for the 2 points for transferring from the residential area along the borders, and for the curfew also, because this will affect positively the armed forces.
The whole operation?
The whole operation. So it will be very good point for this, and they, as you said, they have financial support for them for finding new houses, and we heard maybe yesterday late that they will build the new Rafah. Maybe there is a social point here that the Egyptians, like all the Arab, they have a very strong relation with the land. They grow in this land. They like to stay.
And also for the sake of development with the whole region. But with where you stand as a Major General for the armed forces, and you are a consultant for Nasser High Military Academy, how do you see the stance of the residents in the northern Sinai border? How are they taking it right now?
I'm sure they have now very good understanding for the issue, and it affects the national security, as I said, and their safety themselves. So they moved, and no problem for their transferring, and it's a very good point from the president. They apologized for the people for their transferring from their houses to another places, and maybe put in his mind the humanitarian dimension for this transfer, and I'm sure this will affect positively the rest of the operation against terrorism.
The second part of the question that is related directly to the same one, how do you read the decision of establishing a buffer zone in the area? How safe is it for the residents and for the operation, the military operation itself, of getting rid of terrorism, rooting out terrorism from the whole region? How important is it?
It's very important, not only for Egypt, for any country need to control its borders. Around the world, I think all the countries to have good control along its borders need a buffer zone, a good buffer zone, just to control the people which might enter illegally from the neighbors. So good point. This buffer zone, especially in Egyptian case.
Do you think it came a little bit late?
Yes, I think that is very, very important point that you should convince the people themselves. Maybe the last operation which we lost approximately 30 militaries. This operation convinced the people themselves that they should clear the area along the borders to have free hand for the armed forces to deal with the process and to control the border. Because in Egyptian case, the border not only normal but like other countries, it has tunnels. So it's very, very bad.
The geographical nature of the places.
You cannot imagine that we destroyed until now, I think 1,800 tons along 14 kilometers. It's approximately tunnels.
Network of tunnels.
Also the residential area, more than 90. It's
way too much.
Yes, too much.
Right. Dr. Ahmed, before Sisi's rule, even before June 30th revolution, ever since Mubarak's era, Egypt had been having a consistently alarming problem, which is the problematic transport culture, and I call it culture. Accidents affected on railroads as a result of negligence and bureaucracy and bribes to the traffic personnel, and also the highway accidents, and even inside the main cities, the school bus accidents now affected the main cities. The causes of all these ugly incidents or accidents should be sourced out to negligence and insufficiency among the traffic personnel, the corruption, no government surveillance at all. I mean, the lack of government surveillance, and drivers taking drugs, under drugs is one main problem. So holding Sisi's role or Sisi's regime accountability of those accidents might not seem fair.
Absolutely.
But also there should be some steps on the other hand that should be taken and decisions that should be made.
President Sisi's rule is not definitely responsible for the negligent bureaucracy and corruption. I think if we go back a few years to try to ascertain or analyze the situation, what really caused that chaos in terms of culture, administration, and all aspects in education, roads, infrastructure, number of areas. I think you find two things. Number one is the corruption. Number two is the wrong selection of officials. In a number of posts,
appointing the wrong
people. A person without qualification in an official post where he makes a strategic decision can be more dangerous than the corrupt person himself. So in terms of what happened on the roads, part of it could be due to corruption. Part of it could be due to obtaining licenses for money without basically tests. There's a lot of people that obtain licenses from the traffic department without tests. So a lot of people cannot drive and they hold licenses. Designing roads in a number of areas, these roads do not match the standards of safety. And we've seen a lot of holes, sewage open, water, electricity.
The highway Mehra Road was renovated 3 times because of corruption.
If you really want to look at the problem, we've got two sides. Corruption is one side and ignorance on one side. The ignorant person in an official post who makes a strategic decision can be more dangerous than the corrupt himself. So if you look at the accidents, for example, who designed that road? Who designed the cross-section or the intersection where there's a train going through without any offense even? Who designed times, we put a rule that basically people in an unplanned areas can have a 16th floor on a 2-meter wide road. So there's always somebody who gives a decision. And if we want to really rectify situation, we have to go back to the one that gave a decision or made a decision. So again, we're going to go back to the administrative system, reforming the administrative system. And just to make it clear for the respected viewer, when we talk about an administration reform, and President Sisi already started certain steps in that regard, forming an agency or a committee that basically looks at the reform of the administrative system. We talk about the people that work in the government system, talking about 6.5 million people in the administrative system. These people cost the government or costed the country 26% of the budget, amounting to £209 billion per annum. We're talking about institutions that deteriorated over the past few years. They need to be rebuilt and reformed to suit the strategic vision of Egypt that is led now by President Sisi. We need to look at the rules and regulations that govern these institutions to prevent putting the wrong people in place, stopping nepotism, and stopping putting people like the sons or the kids of the formal workers in certain institutions. It's still there. You know, my dad works in an institution, I follow him when he retires.
And it's a profession of the
absolutely. So we redefine when we work simultaneously on the three sectors, people, institutions, rules and regulations will they cannot imagine how badly the situation or the plan for the area. So when it comes from the president and very clear words, I think it will affect the people themselves to know what is the situation there.
Very good. As usual, any decision that is taken by the Egyptian administration comes with dissent, especially on the current regime. It comes with dissent from the other side, the Western side, especially when it comes to domestic affairs. Appointing Dr. Faiza Abu Nada as the President's National Security Advisor, and that particular step had evoked dissent and evoked angry headlines in the Western media outlets, especially the New York Times, for example. We understand that those media outlets are self-interest motivated, and they said that appointing Abu Nada again is appointing an official hostile to the U.S., referring to the prosecution of the NGO agents and American conspiracy that is weakening and destabilizing Egypt. And they said that Abu Nada's return to the political scene underscores al-Sisi's government's persistent disregard for the alliance with the United States. So how do you read the headline by that media outlet, and how do you comment on that?
I'd like to just say something that might be a bit out of the box. I think the difficulty we have in the Middle East is that we might have champions of the third generations of war, and the fourth generation of war started in the West, led by the United States. And I think we don't have the champions as yet to be able to protect the Middle East and the Arab nation from the fourth generation experts. And that's why we keep seeing a collapse of Arab nations, because they don't know how to play the fourth generation of war game. The fourth generation of war has one solution. Number one is to have a nation that is cultured, educated, open-minded to be able to face it. Because a fourth generation of war works
have a working system also.
Absolutely, because the fourth generation of war works on a destruction from within. So if you have a nation that is classified into different things, or characterized into different ethnic groups, whether religious
religiously or culturally. This is beginning of the destruction caused by the fourth generation. So I think the princes and his Egyptians started to realize that it's not a traditional war that can be fought with a traditional weapon or announcements or declarations. You have to put the right people in place, and I think it's a good start to have the right people in place, because the champions of the third generation of war cannot protect Egypt or the Middle East from a fourth generation war because they don't know how to play it. So we need people on a political system that know how to play that game. They have open mind and they have that out of the box way of thinking and strategies. And I think Minister Abunaga is one of those. So my introduction was just basically to justify why I think he selected her, because she's got that vision that she's going to be able to fill that particular post. Talking about the persecution of the NGOs officials, they've never been persecuted, they were taken. So I don't think it didn't happen. So I don't really see anything. But this is part of the fourth generation of war. It basically use the media to keep hammering any act that we do or any decision that we make. So I think the right way here is to be confident in what we do, and we also need to understand that Egypt or the Middle East in general never had a democratic model that they can develop for themselves. We always used to export democratic model, and it doesn't work for us, whether culturally or religiously. So I think we are in a process. We've taken initial steps to develop our own democratic model, and I think it's going to be very suitable for us. And if Egypt continues to play that role in the entire Middle East, I think we're going to have a unique democratic model that creates that combination of Eastern or Oriental cultures with religions, whether Islamic, Judaism, or Christianity. And I think the future is ours, but we just have to be confident in what we do.
Hopefully. But General Halabi, Egypt needed to have played a key role not only as the best and strongest army in the region, the whole region of the Middle East, but also in economy. Now the army is taking the leading role in a multi-billion-dollar project to expand the Suez Canal, of course, the Suez Canal project. How important do you see that, strategic analyst, and does it, confirm the image of the army playing the key role? Does that make, assert the role of the Egyptian army to play a key role in economy, even as the most critical situations?
I will say...
As usual, the rescue comes with the army and this project.
From the economic point of view, now the Egyptian armed forces will be the strongest and high discipline organization in Egypt now.
Right.
As you said, we have a lot of corruptions, and we as Doctor said, a lot of short-term management system, but to run and to accomplish a strategic project like the new Suez Canal, we need a very strong administration and to maintain the schedule and to control all the companies which sharing to this strategic project. So I think it's a good point for the armed forces and for Egypt to run the starting of this project at least by the Egyptian armed forces, because you throw a lot of money in this project. If no good control, good management, you will lose this money. Maybe the time will extend for we don't know how long it will be. So this is from the economic point of view. Another point from the security point of view, how much this area is very sensitive for because it is international, affecting the international trade. So we need at the same time when we accomplish this project to secure the area, and I think also by the Egyptian armed forces we can achieve the two dimension, the accomplish and also securing all the area, and also good choice for the companies which sharing with them. Because for instance,
I only have 2 minutes left, but still there is one important question left, which is in the midst of this very fierce battle for existence by the Egyptian administration and the Egyptians themselves, one more important element remains, which is the element of the importance of work. How important is that element to continue to work and the production, combating the fourth generation war and the fierce battle for existence and all that? I would take a word from you and a word from Dr. Muhanna.
I think to face the fourth generation before, it's not difficult. Each organization in Egypt has a role. Okay.
The President ceases stress on the importance of work. Egyptians go to work and product.
Work and understanding this kind of new threats. Universities has a role, schools, in addition to media, of course, and I think we see that the media have a good image, and also the armed forces, I think they are doing a good role in the military aspect in this issue by facing the terrorists. I think we are on the track. So
I'm out of time, but I need one word from you.
Okay, I'll just put it in 3 points quickly. According to the last research studies, Egyptians work in a range of 30 minutes a day. So I would recommend 3 things. Number 1, for President Sisi and the entire regime, is to rebuild institutions in Egypt, to create a country of institutions, not the country of individuals. Number 2, to work on the socio-cultural aspects like religion, moderation of religion, and motivate the role of Azhar and Kanisa with the Ministry of Culture and the media in general. Number 3 is create a balance between the military institutions and the administrative civil institutions to help the army, because in the mega project of the Suez Canal, the army will need the civil administrative system institutions to work together.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, we're out of time, and I'll have to end it here with this episode of Windows of Birth of Affairs. Major General Pilot Hisham Al-Halabi, consultant, Nasser High Military Academy. Thank you very much. And Dr. Muhanna, political analyst, thank you. Thanks for coming as usual, and I guess this is where we end this edition of Windows of Current Affairs. Thank you very much for joining us, and please do join us again next. Until then, let's goodbye.